Hey YouTube, Andrew here. Today we're going to be talking about Git and using version control and some of my favorite aliases. If you're not using version control, you're probably doing it wrong. Here's some advice to do some short aliases to be able to run those Git commands that you're going to be using day in and day out. So the first one I want to talk about is Git status. This is one that whenever you're in a Git repo, this is how you get the status of what is going on, what's been committed, what's still in flight, what the diffs are. And I like to alias this to GS. And the aliases that I have, since I'm using Z shell, live in my ZSHRC file. So if I open that up, go all the way down to the bottom, you can see a bunch of these aliases, and you just do alias and assign it to whatever it needs to be. So for this one, we have alias gs equals git status. And that's the command there. If we also do alias gs, it'll output what we actually have set for that. If you need to, while you're still in the terminal, source that, you can say source and ZSHRC, and it'll do that for you. Moving on, so after we have git status or gs sourced, which is a go-to, and we're going to use that a million times, the next alias I want to talk about is adding a file. And you do that by saying git add, and typically it's dot. We need to create a file to be able to test this. So let's create a new test file and changes or other changes. And we can do a git add, but I've aliased this to GA. And so if we do GA dot, then it will add that file for us. And if we check out that alias, then it does the git add, which is really nice. Another way that we can do an add is by using a hunked commit. This is done using, okay, let's make some changes here. Do changes 1 and changes 2. And if we do git add -p, then we see this prompt, which allows us to break up our commits into smaller ones. And you see this little prompt, it has a question mark, so we can hit that, and this will give us the directions on how to use this thing. You can see right here where it says split the current commit. So what we can do is stage just the first set of changes and not the second set. So we could say S for split, commit these, don't commit these, and you can see if we do a GS again, then we have a different set of changes. Do a git commit -m first, and then we can do our other commit. So we'll do the same thing, and yes, and git commit again for the next set. I've aliased this for gap, so if we reset those changes, we can do it again, and it's nice to be able to just say gap instead of having to type that little -p. The next alias I want to talk about is git commit, which we just used. We have some changes here, and we want to create a commit out of them. So we could type out the full message, which is git commit -m, or we can type in the new alias, which is GCM. And so that one looks like this. And if we do GCM and say work in progress or whip commit, then we have a whip commit, and we can do a git log and see that that has happened here, which is nice. The next command I want to talk about is git checkout. This one, if we've done some changes, let's say in test.txt, we accidentally deleted a line that we didn't want to. So if we do gs or git status, then we can see we've modified it, and we want to set this back. So an alias that I've set up for this is GCO or git checkout. You can use this GCO dot, and we're back to a steady state. A couple other commits for using stashes. So this one you can do, let's say we have some other testing happening here and other testing. We have this staged, but let's say we need to put this work down and come back to it. So we could say git stash save -u for any untracked files, or we can use this alias, which is hang on. And so this I have aliased so that we can just say hang on to that work, and we're back to a steady status, and we don't have to do anything else here. If we wanted to pop this, then we can do git stash pop, but I have this also aliased, and do it GSP. So git stash pop, and if we do that, then we're back to our state where we have those changes ready to go. The next set of aliases is having to do with whip commits. I think we have a whip commit on the first commit here. And so if we've done that, then we can unwhip, which will take off that whip commit and do a git reset head for us. So if we do unwhip, that's gonna look like this. And if we execute it, then it puts it back into our change status here, and we no longer have that whip commit. So if we wanted to put the whip commit back, I also have an alias for that, which is whip, which will do a git add, and then a commit with the name whip in it. So we can whip and git log, and we have that whip commit back where we wanted it. This last alias is really cool. It lets you have a nice consolidated one-line Git history, so you can see the SHA and what branch it is and when it happened and who the committers are. So this view is a little customized. So this alias is for GL, which is git LG, and this is actually a git config alias. So if we go down to git config in our home directory, I'll put this in in the show notes, but this is the full thing where it describes all the syntaxes needed. And so if we use that, then we do GL, we have this nice git commit message. Hopefully you learned something during this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.